Okay, so next sample, we're going to try using the technique that we discussed earlier on, which was basically saying that let's use a J panel to accommodate all of the controls. Okay, so J panel. So I'm just moving on through our presentation. I'm trying to locate my presentation here. Let's just. Okay, so this is our current sample, and basically this discusses the nature of swing library here, and it says that we already mentioned that it's completely implemented in Java, therefore it's very lightweight and something that we can refer to as a very native user interface, that it's adaptable to Windows, Macintosh environments, Linux, and so forth. So we have many different controls and ways to display information, and there's something that we also be discussing pretty soon, which is model view controller. But first, let me just do the second example. So this time, instead of directly, the second sample here, instead of directly placing that button on the frame, what we're going to do is that we're going to create the panel class, okay, which is generally used as a container for other controls, and we will add the container first, and then we'll create the button, and then we will add it to the panel. So let's do that. Let's just we can copy and paste this section, or the next page displays the entire sample, but it's really this portion that we're talking about. So let's just copy and paste this into the into the sample that we had, right? And so this time, if I just replace what I had before, source, format, make everything look nice, and if I run it this time, you can see that this time when I added a panel and then I added a button to that panel, what happens is now this is my button, and see I'm trying to click it, and it kind of replies with changing the color and appearance as I click this button. But this time the button really does not occupy the entire space. In fact, if I this time, once again, if I create not one but a couple of buttons, right? So I'll create button 2 and say hello world here, and an exclamation point, and add both of these buttons to the panel, which is now part of our frame, and save that and run it. So first I'm going to stop this running application, right, and then run this new version of it. You can see that this time both buttons are visible. So the layouts for the window and the layout for the panel container are different, and so we will work with layouts a little bit later on, and we'll discuss what options are available. But this time perhaps this is friendlier for us, because at this point finally we can demonstrate that yes, we can create multiple buttons and both can be managed in this manner. So right now it's time for us to examine this code in greater detail. So let's just do everything step by step and make sure that we recognize all pieces and all parts of this small application. Number one, I'd like to first focus on these controls, okay? So number one, we create a J frame, okay? We create the J frame, and so far we're not using that inheritance technique, but we're using the most primitive way of managing the window, given that you can attach other controls to it. So we create the frame and we name it a frame. So frame is a reference to our window, and this is the caption, the title for that window. JFrame is me, right? So it just shows you where it is on the form. So then we do some configuration update on it because it's not visible, so it's easy to make an update. Then we say that let's create JPanel. So the JPanel right now is completely invisible. It has no borders, but remember that the first time we created a button and added it directly to the frame, the button took over the entire space of the frame. So this time, of course, the panel takes the entire space inside the frame that we created, but inside the panel, we then, so then obviously what we do is we say frame, get the content pane, and add the panel that we just created, which is just a container rectangle, if you will, right? Then we create one button, another button, give those buttons two different captions, and tell the JPanel, add one button and add another button. So this way, we added the two buttons to the panel, and you could see that the buttons were somehow automatically resized to fit the caption, right? And also they were positioned specifically on that panel, and both were visible. Okay, so let's do some experimentation with the button sizes. Like if we take and we could try to place a longer text in these buttons, like just something like that, which is not going to look very good, but still, you know, I'm just curious if anything's going to change if I make those adjustments, and there you go, right? So the first of all, both buttons adjusted their size according to the content. So there's much more taking place behind the scenes rather than just, you know, create a widget and display it. As you can see that the default behavior is that many of these controls are resized automatically and respond extremely friendly and extremely well to our attempts to populate those gadgets with different contents. And also notice that now they're essentially occupying vertically two different positions vertically, as opposed to initial position, which was both buttons were positioned horizontally. So that's just an observation. Okay, so a lot more is going on rather than just, you know, this ad. So everything seems to be behaving very intelligently and reacting to whatever we were trying to do. So much more about layouts and the way you can position controls to discuss in the future. All right, but look, this entire work with frame, buttons, and the panel happened to be in a static method named create and show GUI. Okay, so we have this. But look at main. Main contains something completely almost unrecognizable and difficult to comprehend. If you try to look at this code, it's a bit you know, it's something that is a bit of an overwhelming set of code, and this is something that I'd like to discuss with you next. Because this is something which is very important to the rest of our coverage for Swing, like what's really taking place, why we coded it this way specifically, and generally speaking, what is going on. So that's the next section, the next part of our discussion. Any questions so far? No? Okay. So moving on.